it was midday. Like it was light out. Like
Right.
big deal. But I'm sitting there and playing. I'm like, yeah, this is sick. Okay. And then out of nowhere, he get there and he's there and he grabs you at the very end because it's like kind of like a time limit thing. He grabbed me and he flipped me around and I just was all, ah! And I pushed out from from my computer and like sent my chair flying back. I screamed and I was like,
Nice.
and in my mind, I'm like, first I was like, yo, fuck that. Second, I'm just like, yo, that was funny.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let 'em burn.
And
Nice.
so for that, like, I was like, well, I can like kill like multiple objectives in one go by playing a game I love, making new friends, and doing something that is really fun, honestly. It's actually really fun to do stuff like voice acting and stuff. So I'm just like, you know what? Why not?
Never mind the fact that you're also integrating your music with it. Like last time I dropped into one of
Yeah.
your streams, you're literally covering a Final Fantasy song and shredding it
Yes,
on guitar, and it
exactly.
sounds sick. So I'm like, it's
Yeah.
completely new. It's interesting. It's exciting, and it's honestly a really good format for you. Like I've been
Yeah.
swooning over you for years, and you know this. I'm always telling you how cool you are and how
God.
like you need to be doing this or you need to be doing that. I'm over here like pushing you in different directions, even though like we didn't even know each other that well. I'm just like, this guy's cool, man. So like,
Dude, I do appreciate that a lot, man.
no, so it's exciting to finally like see you just kind of blowing up too. Like I know that it isn't like what you'd see of like, oh, I have billions of followers or things like that, but like your growth is extremely impressive, and it's
Thanks,
great to
man.
see it happen. Yeah.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
I know. Like I said, it's been really fun, and like the biggest thing, like, of more than anything, is like, honestly, I would attribute my growth to the fact that when I'm not streaming, I spend a lot of time in other people's streams.
Nice.
And it kind of reminds me of like going to shows and trying to build yourself up in regards to like your not stature, but just like your investment and involvement, you know. So like you really do, if you want to do well in Twitch, you really have to put yourself and invest time into it.
Right.
And so like that's like a big thing for me is like when I'm not streaming, I'm still hanging out with streamers and like hanging out in their chats, whether it's just a lurk, just vibing, talking, anything pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it is like, you get your growth comes from your investment more than anything. So like, is it a job? Yes. Is it also not a job? Also yes. Because it's so like, I don't know. Like this is one of those things where it's like, I can't believe I'm actually doing something I enjoy, and like,
right.
like putting
Yeah.
like the time and effort into it. It's just like, whoa, this is sick. Because like I'm able to apply the stuff I learned from photography, videography, obviously video games, music, my love for doing goofy voices, whether it's like me making a Moogle sound like a chain smoker from New York, or like me actually like doing like an actual emotional like section in a game that I'm just like, damn, this is really sick, dude. Like I'm like getting choked up because the last time I did 7, I was like, it was like Aerith's stepmom, and she was telling the story about how she got Aerith in it and stuff. And when I was reading the dialogue at one point, I just was like,
It's made it too real.
I was just like, fuck, dude, like this game's going in. And I'm like, but I had to keep reading it and stuff. So I'm just like, fuck, dude, like lump in my throat and all,
That's
but
awesome.
It was really, really fun, man.
Yeah.
And so like,
it's kind of weird too. Like I feel like I haven't really considered voice acting or things like that, like you have. But when you play a game on stream, when I first started playing games on stream, I'd always skip the dialogue. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to show them boring parts. Let's get to the action, right? But more recently, I started actually reading out the dialogue and doing voices and just being more like chill with it. And not only does it help with length, but like it makes it more fun and exciting. Like I'm having fun doing it, even if like the dialogue was boring to me at first. Just putting in like the effort and putting in the voice makes it like another layer of excitement to it and makes it more fun.
It goes from making a spot that's normally 2-dimensional with like, because it's just text on the screen.
Yeah.
And it's like an old PlayStation game. There's only so much emotion that can be expressed through polygons, sprites. So by adding voice to like adding voices to the game actually adds a whole nother layer of depth to it, and it goes from being a 2-dimensional to a 3-dimensional. And that's what I realized from seeing people on Twitch voice act games. One person in particular, his name's Sebiwebs TV on Twitch. He voice acted all of Final Fantasy IX from start to finish, and like the dude's already hilarious and does a lot of stuff because he comes from like a theater background. So does a ton of voices, very like physically like into it and stuff, and I'm just like, damn, this is entertaining. And I remember watching him do Final Fantasy IX, and I was like cackling like a witch because of like his voices, his execution, his improv with it. I was like, damn, this is hilarious, you know?
Right.
And then there was parts in the game that were very emotional and very very dark, and he did them with like, you know, he did them the right way and did them very
with respect.
I don't know how to say it. He just made it. He did it the right way, you know.
Right.
And so it made your investment into the story that much deeper. And then you pair that with like just the game itself being what it is, and then people's emotional connections to the characters, and it's just like, dude, it's a whole other dimension in terms of what you'll get out of playing a game from that era, you know.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
seeing him do that, and then seeing other people do that. Like I watched this one girl play Final Fantasy VII, and she got to the part where she finds out about Cloud's backstory, which no spoilers, anyone, but you know, she learns about Cloud, and she had known about Seven for years, like probably like well over a decade plus. And so her perception on who Cloud was got shattered. And we literally got to witness her emotions shifting in real time on stream. And she was a wreck because of it, but in like a good way, you know, because she's just like, wait, I thought Cloud was this kind of person. And then you find out that he is still that person, but in a new light. And seeing her emotions in real time in that manner was one of the most like beautiful things I've ever seen. And this is like me seeing this live on Twitch. So I'm just like, damn.
That's amazing, dude. Like, character arcs and the connections you can make with people are just amazing. It's what can set games apart from, you know, just a clicker to something that can actually impact you and change your life even.
And that's when I realized, like, oh, I'm in here in my room watching this, crying, like, oh God, like,
yeah, and you knew the story, you knew what was going to happen. Yeah, it's just.
But seeing people's reactions to it is what makes the game so special.
Right.
Honestly, I think that's what I love so much about it, is that you know what's going to happen, but the way you react to it, with whether it's yourself or with those around you, it's the difference from playing a game by yourself in your room with the lights turned out and sitting with a bunch of people playing the game and just freaking out like, oh my God, this part's so sick. Oh my God, this part. Oh fuck, I'm gonna cry. Oh, you know, it's a whole nother dimension and a whole other spectrum.
That's the thing with games too. I mean, it's literally because there's so many different types of media in the game, whether it's audio, visuals, you know, the actual immersion of being part of the system and choosing what happens in the game. Your environment really does affect how you feel. Like, I feel like there's a good case for a bunch of different types of environments. Like if you're playing horror games, you know, even turning off all the lights and just playing it alone in a room can completely change how that game feels, right?
Oh my God, dude,
just the same if you're playing Smash alone, it's not going to feel very exciting.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, it is interesting how everything around us can affect how a game feels. Yeah.
Dude. Especially with the game, like horror games specifically, because I don't play horror games by myself.
Nice.
But I streamed the demo for Resident Evil 8 because like everyone was talking about it, and it was like a PS5 exclusive like tech demo. So I was like, dude, I should check it out. Like that'd be fun. Ended up being like a 30-minute thing, so I was like kind of bummed on that. So like, dude, I hoped it had been longer because I would have had more fun with it. But in that 30 minutes, I got clipped like 5-6 times, which is like the most at that point, because people were just like, oh, look at this dumb bastard get scared. And I'm like, dude, fuck this. This game is scary. Every time you pick up an item, it's just like an outrageous sound that is way too loud. I hope they keep that, because that was a really good dynamic to the game. But I was like, damn, horror games are fun. And it's great because even though I'm in a room by myself playing the game, having chat there kind of makes it not as scary because I'm just like, oh, cool, I'm not alone, but I'm alone. You know?
Right.
So like, you just dim the lights, get in the groove. You know, just have fun. You know.
I think that's kind of what makes the interactions fun too, because when you do get scared and you scream or something, you immediately realize, wait, they're watching me. So then it becomes a funny moment too. So it just kind of like it is very different. It's funny. I remember when I first started making videos, that Slender Man game had come out.
Oh god, which one was it? The original
The
Slender
original Slender.
Dude.
Yeah, and I was like,
God.
this isn't scary, this isn't awful. And then they're like, hey, let's make a video and let's turn off all the lights and record it. I have never been afraid of a game until that moment. It got me so many times.
I remember I was in I feel like it might have been a Skype call. Like if we're gonna throw it back, I was in a Skype call with some people, and it was me and one other person. We were playing that game together, and it was so funny because like I'm playing and like it was midday, like it was light out, like big deal. But I'm sitting there and playing. I'm like, yeah, this is sick. Okay, and then out of nowhere, you know, he get there and he's there and he grabs you at the very end because it's like kind of like a time limit thing. He grabbed me and he flipped me around and I just was all, ah! And I pushed out from from my computer and like sent my chair flying back. I screamed and I was like, and in my mind, I'm like, first I was like, yo, fuck that. Second, I'm just like, yo, that was funny.
Right.
Because
it's honestly the creator in us too. Kind of like when something like that happens, you're like, oh my gosh, like that really got me. That's a clip.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that like, immediately like, how can we use my pain for?
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I've been singing a lot.